can see how it's on a swivel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm sitting in the drone worship workbench. How you guys doing? It's Drone On. I'm in the building. I was a little bit late this evening, and I'm sorry about that. I'd like to apologize. I had some car issues, but I'm here now. And as promised, we're going to talk about the Boss 7 series frames, and we're going to talk about silverware. And we're going to do a little build here. So, yeah. Hey, Lloyd, how you doing? I'm hijacking the drone worship channel. What do you guys know about that? Anyways, so yeah, no problem with that. That way you guys can see what's really happening. And I'm going to try to tilt this camera down. We're going to take a look at this Boss 7 that Dan has here, and we're going to talk about the frame system. And hey, do you have that box with the frames? With
Yeah.
the blank frame, so we can take a blank frame and take a look at that. So, hey guys, I'm going to go ahead and tilt the camera down a little bit. We're going to try to get the view straightened out here a little bit, and we're going to talk about a few things, and then we'll get started. It shouldn't take that long. So I'm going to do my best to read the chat here and try to respond.
There you go.
All right. So let's take a look what we have in the magic box. We have some really cool stuff in here, actually. So I know we have some frames here somewhere. Let's take a look. I know there's like a stack of frames. Aha, here we go. Okay, so we're going to put the frame down here, and then we're going to take one of the flight controllers we've been working with. So let me go ahead and try to tilt the camera down, guys. So just bear with me.
Well, grab it by the screen.
Meaning?
Like, just take it with both fingers. Yep. Nope, not the camera, just the whole
screen.
The
whole screen. All right.
Right. Let's see. There you go.
Okay, so what we have here, guys.
Pull back.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
This right here is a Boss 7 series frame. So it doesn't look like anything special, does it? I mean, it's just a 3D printed frame. Designed by Not Fast Enough. And this is an open source type deal. You can download the 3D printable files if you want to print your own frame. I happen to know somebody by the name of C-Ray Tech, and you can take a look at his website. It's C-Ray Tech blog, letter C, letter R, letter A, letter Y, techblog.com. And he has a store there, and he'll 3D print one of these Boss series frames for you. And they come in a multitude of sizes and varieties. Low cost. I happen to know C-Ray personally, and I've bought several of his frames from him. They're really high quality. But this frame here was actually printed by Not Fast Enough himself. It's kind of hard for me to read the chat here, guys, but I'm going to do my...
I'll let you know what people are saying.
All right, cool. So let me tell you a little bit about my experience with this Boss series frame. So as you guys know, I fly a lot of Whoop class quads, like this 65 millimeter Whoop class right here. And I decided I was going to get my hands on one of these frames and do a build with it and see how it rolled, basically. I was completely amazed. I have never flown anything in my life like this frame system. It is so agile. It's so light. It's so durable. Cost effective. I mean, it's free if you have a 3D printer, and less than $10 to get one printed. And they come in a multitude of sizes for different size motors. So, yeah, combined with silverware, like a flight controller that runs flight controller software, silverware, and also Not Fast Enough's blended silverware. So we'll talk about that for a second, so we can clear that up. Silverware it's kind of like Betaflight for a flight controller, but it's made really for micros, brushed micros, and also now they're doing brushless silverware. On top of that, silverware was designed by a gentleman whose call sign or handle is Silver X. It's Silver XXX, and it's a great contribution to the community. I mean, that software runs great. It's a beautiful thing. But combined, Not Fast Enough has done his own flavor of silverware, where he adds his rates, and it has it optimized for the Boss series frames and Whoop frames as well. And Not Fast Enough's blend, in my opinion, is a little more aggressive. but the Acro is awesome, and he adds features that default silverware just simply doesn't have. It's like arming via switch, an air mode style mode, so this motor spins, so you can do acrobatics in Acro. So
Yule Adams wants to know, can it hold a brushed micro BF board?
does he mean Betaflight board?
I believe that's probably what it means.
So, the frame itself is made basically for Whoop style flight controllers, these diamond shaped flight controllers. So there are a few micro brushed boards in this size that are just now coming out. So yeah, you could, but there would be another challenge, and that would be, how would you mount your brushless, I should say, micro brushless motors in this frame? So that would be the challenge above and beyond, I think, the flight controller. And
Well, it sounds like he's asking just brushed micro BF.
Yeah,
That's basically what
definitely.
we're building.
Yeah. So, right here, here's a Boss flight controller, and look,
That's fully set up to fly.
Yeah, and this is capable of running Betaflight. I don't know if it runs Betaflight or not, but it has a USB port.
Yes, it can run Betaflight.
All right, so yes, you can, and that's another thing about silverware that we need to discuss, I think, before we build anything, is that it's not necessarily for everybody, because it's not a simple thing to do. And what I mean by that is what we've been doing is taking like flight controllers from toy grade drones, like the Eachine E011, the Bold Clash B-Whoop Pro, the Eachine H8 Mini Blue board. Only some boards you can actually put silverware on, and the process to do so isn't as simple as plugging in a USB port, plug and interfacing with your computer. Let me grab this box and I'll detail that just briefly here. So what you need to do to get silverware onto one of these boards, and this is going to be changing, but you know how the drone world is, things change monthly. Let me see if I can locate my...
Yule Adams wants you to speak more on silverware. It sounds interesting.
All right, so that's what we're talking about right now, actually. So it's like Betaflight, more or less, for brushed micros. That's a good way to describe it, except for it's not as user-friendly as Betaflight in the fact that you don't have a user interface that you can get on your computer and, make changes and click save. Basically, you have to download the source code. You have to compile it to your needs based on what controller you're going to use to control the drone, what protocol, or if you're using a chip, and set your rates, and then flash it to the board. And once it's flashed, it's on the board, unless you want to go through the process of pulling the software up, changing your rates, recompiling and flashing again. But like I said, this is changing. So that's what I wanted to detail, is basically it's not as user-friendly as Betaflight to get into it. But once you do, it's amazing. And I'll give you an example of that. So right here, I don't know if you guys can see, but I have a couple of plugs soldered onto the flight controller. This is a Beta FPV light flight controller. It's a $9 to $13 flight controller. You can buy it on Amazon for $12. And it comes pre-flashed already with basic silverware. And so what I've done here is I've soldered on a lead so I can plug and unplug a camera, obviously. But more interesting right here is I have a lead soldered on to a couple of ports on this board here. See this lead? And what I do is I have, and I'm looking for it now, I'm not sure where it's located. Here it is. And I use this. This is called an ST-Link. So what I do is I solder the connections onto a plug connector onto my ST-Link, and you have to have your wires in a specific order. I connect this to the board, and now I can connect this to my USB port on the computer. And from there, I can actually get into the board, remove the default software if I like, and flash my compiled silverware. But as I had mentioned, this new Beta FPV light boards come with basic silverware already flashed to them. So if you want to get into basic silverware, you can for a very low cost. So we'll take a look at one of those.
We currently have 14 people watching, and someone is clapping.
So this right here is just brand new. out of the box what you'll get if you buy one of these Beta FPV light flight controllers. Let's see if I can get it closer to the camera. Really simple Whoop class flight controller, bare bones. It runs Bayang Toys protocol. That's how you would control it. And we'll talk a little bit about that too in a moment, how I've been controlling it with the hobby grade controller. Many people use a Taranis to do so, but I'm using a FlySky and a really low cost solution to use a hobby grade controller. So let's put that away for now. And let's talk about how I've been controlling it.
Kryptonite says, ooh, I need a beer for this. I'll be right back.
So this right here is it's the iRange X multi-protocol module for FlySky.
Explain the importance of it.
Okay, what this will allow you to do is you basically take this and plug into the back of your trainer port in a FlySky FSI 6
Babe, let me see that.
low-cost hobby grade controller. Connect a 1S battery to it, and you can connect to a multitude of toy grade drones. Here we go. For example, here's a FSI 6 clone. This isn't FSI 6, it's just cloned as Ghoul RC. On the back side, you'll have this trainer port here. This is brand new. I don't want to put it in right now until we're ready to test it. But you'll basically insert this into, I know my hand's in the way, guys, and I apologize. But you'll insert this into your trainer port, and then a 1S battery will connect to this. And this is basically almost like a PPM receiver. But what's interesting about that is it'll connect to a lot of different toy grade protocols. So you can connect to not only your, Eachine E11, your H8 minis, your E10. I don't know if you guys can see, but basically here's a list of the different protocols it'll connect to, and how you do it is you use a stick combination. So for example, Bayang Toys protocol, which is pretty much what we use to run silverware, which runs the Beta FPV Lite, the Eachine E11, the H8 Mini, and a lot of other toy grade quads. It's basically left stick down, right stick, upper right hand, and turn on your controller, and it'll bind to Bayang Toys protocol, and you'll be able to use a hobby grade controller to control your micro. And Dan, that's going to be yours. You're going to want that for reference. So, silverware is awesome. I'll be honest with you guys. I was pretty skeptical when I first got into it, and back then, I mean, it not fast enough's flavor of silverware is changing all the time. It's awesome. He's updating it with new features. And then back then, it was an older compile, and I flashed it to a Eachine E11 just to see for myself. And I was just learning how to fly acro then. I was a open field type, open area, not able to fly indoors acro, and literally overnight flying acro on not fast enough flavor of silverware. I was flying proximity through trees, palm trees. I was flying in my living room. I was totally blown away. And since then, I've been talking about it nonstop, trying to help other people see the light. But another benefit is it's pretty low cost to get into it. I mean, the frames are free if you have a 3D printer, or low cost if you have to buy one already printed. A flight controller is anywhere from $9 to $13. Motors, you can get a good set of 716 motors. They don't have to be a brand name. $7. Now, the biggest expenditure is going to be your VTX cam. Once you have the controller and you can control it, it's $35, $30. If you want to buy an expensive cam, you could spend $45. But the performance it provides is amazing. So what we're going to do here is we're going to get started, I guess. So we're going to take this boss and we're going to install this flight controller onto this frame, and we're going to connect to it and bind to it, and then we're going to remove the camera and install it onto the new frame and figure out how to get it set up with the canopy. And that's probably going to be the biggest challenge, is how we're going to mount the camera, because I've never mounted a camera with one of these.
Now, if you open that drawer,
yeah,
there is a 200 milliwatt camera in there, 25, 75. Should see it over here somewhere.
All right, we'll find the camera.
somewhere around there.
We're looking for the Cam VTX combo.
There should be a camera. Maybe. Oh, it might be in that
Plastic bag?
Yeah, that plastic
I see
bag.
one in there.
I had a bunch of rodeo parts in there.
Oh boy.
So
Is it this one?
Yep.
All right. So we have this.
too big?
I don't know. We're gonna have to take a look. I've never used. Oh, we're gonna talk about the canopy. These canopies are really cool. This is the canopy I guess we're gonna use. It's one of Not Fast Enough's canopies. These are really cool, but we're gonna have to cut out the holes for it and trim it. So I think Dan might be doing that.
Yeah.
Yay! So without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing we're gonna need to do is remove this flight controller and remove the camera from the frame. So to do that, we're going to unplug the motors. Now let's talk about motors. Brushed motors are their own beast.
Right back.
They're a lot different than brushless motors. So you really want to be gentle when you handle these brushed motors, especially when installing them. These plugs on the bottom are very, very fragile. You don't want to grab the wires and try to yank the plugs out. What I do is a lot of people will use tweezers, hemostats. I have long fingernails, so I get my fingernails up under them. So let me put my glasses on, and I just kind of start trying to get them with my fingernails, but I try not to try to put even pressure on them. Let me grab some tools here. Just bear with me, guys, while I grab some tools. So, also building micros. These are my best friend, my little tweezers. I love my tweezers. So I'm being very, very gentle with these motor wires. I'm being very, very gentle when I go to remove the motors from the plug-in ports on the board. Once you get them set up on the frame and plugged in, I mean, you can take them for a tumble, but when you're installing them and uninstalling these motors, you want to be very, very gentle. So I'm being real even on the pressure. I'll go ahead and move this wires out of the way. We've got two already unplugged. We're moving forward. I'm being real even with the pressure of the motor wire coming out. I'm not stressing the wire out at all. So what do we got here? Okay. I'm really gentle with these cables. Okay, so we've removed the motor plugs from the old flight controller we're fixing to remove. You know, building these micros, it's not that difficult. So now I need to remove the two screws that affix the flight controller. And what I usually do when I'm dealing with these little screws, because what's going to happen every time, it doesn't matter, they're going to fall off, they're going to be on the floor, you're going to be on your hands and knees looking for these little screws. It never fails. So I take a little magnet. Some people use a little magnetic dish, whatever works for you, but I just put these right onto a magnet, and I know that's where they're going to be for me. And you know what? I still lose them. So whenever I see these little flight controller screws anywhere, I just grab them and hoard them. Sometimes I just let them fall. I don't even pick them back up. I just grab a new one. When it comes to these little screws, it just takes a little patience. It can be aggravating. Okay. So now the camera is been affixed with some hot glue, so I'm being very gentle. Another thing too, guys, to watch out on these toy grade flight controllers is these antennas that are built in. you know, they're kind of hard to solder back in sometimes. And once they pop off, it can be a real pain. So I want to be very gentle with trying to remove this camera from the actual frame itself. Starting to remove. Being real gentle. Okay, so the camera has been dislodged from the frame. The flight controller is loose now, so it should pop right out. Just gotta get the antenna and power lead straightened out here. Just the power lead. Little micro low-Z lead. I don't know. Maybe.
What's that? That hole. What hole?
Where the camera's going to come from, out of.
Oh, yeah, true.
And then we're going to have the antenna hole in the back too. Okay, so now I just have it. All right. There goes this little F3 camera over here. We're going to set that to the side. Aha. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, you're asking everyone to stop what they're doing. Some people haven't put stuff into their personal life.
So I'm just going to remove some of this hot glue if I can from the front of the frame here, but I'm struggling a little bit. Okay.
I think calculator might be up to. Sorry.
It's all, no, it comes right off. This is actually a really well printed frame, Dan. This is a really good print. Not Fast Enough did a great job. Okay, so this here is a little 6mm whoop I was fiddling with. I flashed Not Fast Enough's compile of silverware onto this flight controller, but it's optimized for actually this frame and these motors. So I just put it on here to test it. So what I'm going to do is remove this flight controller from this little whoop frame here, and we're going to set the whoop frame to the side and forget about it. And I'm just scavenging the parts from it now. A little foam battery holder I was using. Oh, this is a little more difficult to get to the motors because of the way the battery tray is mounted here. So I'm going to pop the flight controller first and then remove the motors. Being extremely gentle. The motor connectors on the flight controller boards can get loose. And if you do a lot of builds and you're swapping motors a lot, that's when they start to come loose off the board. So I'm being very gentle, and I'm removing these motors gently, one by one. I'm using my fingernails to get up under the lip and trying to provide even pressure on it. The last thing I want to do is, these are some really nice Micro Motor Warehouse 19,000 kV 6mm motors, and I do not want to mess those up, even though I don't really fly these anymore. I'm just slowly removing these motors with my fingernails. All right. You to the side. And there is the flight controller. It's the Beta FPV light flight controller. That's the top. It's not a lot to it. Right here, important to note is the crystal. If this breaks off your board or gets damaged, it will not connect to your controller. So that's something you always want to be aware of if you're mounting a camera, is that you don't want to push it up against the crystal. I often will put a piece of sticky tape over this crystal to protect it. The antenna, and that's on any of these toy grade Whoop flight controllers. This with the built-in antenna, you want to be real careful on the antenna, because once those break off, they're a real pain to fix. And on the bottom, it's pretty cut and dry. It's not an expensive board. Yeah, that looks great. Dan's over here creating a masterpiece with these hoods. Yeah, he just cut this thing out. Look at that circle. Man, good job. But yeah, see, it's where you connect your motors. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and mount this flight controller to this frame and then connect the motors to it. We need to get a rubber band. We're going to need, that should be it actually. So let me see if I have this a rubber band somewhere in here. I sure do. And this is one of the hardest parts actually. I'm going to attempt to put the rubber band underneath the screws to create a ghetto soft mount and also a battery tray at the same time with this rubber band. So first thing I'm going to do is gently move these wires up out of the way. Always want to handle these wires with kid gloves. We're going to see what we can do about this. This is going to be an issue.
Yeah, I guess.
Getting this JST 2.0 plug through here. I don't know how we're going to pull this. It's not going to fit. So we're going to either have to remove the power lead from the board or alter the frame to get this to fit, because the plug connector will not, or maybe we can route it like this. This might work also. I just don't want to put any added stress onto the power cable. Let's take a look here. Yeah, I think this will work, actually.
Dan's going to be racing like a boss, plus I have kids. My daughter's a spotter. Okay.
All right. So.
Ron says hello.
Bench is a fat man, Ron?
Yep.
What's up, Ron?
Sorry, I'm going back through the comments. Tell him I'm going through the comments to check if we missed anybody's.
I'm just kind of seating this flight controller here, seeing where we're going to have any issues if we are going to. This.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're good here. So.
I have a seat cooler. I can plug in either way.
All right. So let me grab some screws and let me get busy.
Yeah.
This can be a little difficult. You got to just be patient with these. So let me get it fixed in right again.
There's no right way to plug it in. It's a C plug. That's what they're trying to transfer all angles.
I usually start by trying to line up the front. This is where I need 3 hands. And once I get the front lined up, the others start to fall in line.
All right, so what flight mode are you putting on?
This is the Beta FPV light flight controller.
Okay.
You can pick it up on Amazon for like $12. They just raised the price from $9.99 to $12 like a week and a half ago.
Dang.
So I got this one for $9. And the other one. And I lucked out and I picked up a BWhoop Pro board for $325 on eBay.
Somebody said we don't run, we respawn up in here. Huh? Yeah.
All right, so we've got the front screw mounted on the flight controller. Just trying to make a little space for manipulating the power cord here. I'm being very careful not to put any pressure on the antenna or the crystal chip. Gonna have to set her down again. Got to have good eyes and patience with the fingers.
Those are 720 motors, correct?
On here,
yes,
they appear to be 7/16s.
He said they look tall.
No, those are 7. They do kind of look tall the way they're mounted in there, don't they? No, they're 7/16s. So let's do a motor comparison real quick so we can get this in perspective. So we'll get a couple motors right here. Those are 7/16s.
Got it?
I'm sure they are, but I've got some I know are 7/16s here. No.
Somebody said 6 of you need to hit the like button.
All right, so let's take a look at some motors real quick and do a little quick comparison. These are 720s. Ah, they're stuck to my screwdriver, man. These are 720s. That's 7 millimeters by 20 millimeters tall.
What a stupid line.
And these are 716s. So they're 7 millimeters by 16 millimeters. These are much more powerful, but they're also much more battery hungry too. So let's take a look here. So we'll take one 716 and we'll go ahead and try to do a little.
Bro, why are you going over the stream?
So that's a 716. But they do look tall in that thing, don't they? So anyways, back onto our build here. So as it stands right now, all we should have to do to get a line of sight flying quad out of this is plug in our motors. So on a Whoop class and micro brush, unless it's an Inductrix, which runs things differently, it's always black and white, red and blue, black and white for the motor wires. So I'm just going to be real gentle and plug these motors in. And with this Boss frame, it is so easy. Look, I mean, you have access to the flight controller board right there. And what I kind of do is, because I always get it backwards, I always do a visual check on where the posts are in relationship to the inner plug, because if you plug it in backwards, you can sometimes bend these plugs here and ruin them. So I seat it in perfect, and I apply even pressure, trying not to push on the wires, but on the plastic on the outside, and just push it in. Beep. That easy. I'm doing a visual check to make sure I have my post lined up. I get the plug lined up. I don't press on the wire. I press on the plastic around the wire and seat it nice and evenly.
Jake the Rock says, "Are you using a Beta FPV light board?"
Yes, I am. Is that Jake the Rock from Jake Rock Workshop?
Yep.
What's up, Jake? Yes.
Yes. Says you're making it more complicated.
You're right. I am. I might be making it more complicated. I just want to be thorough and clear. But yeah, no, Jake Rock knows all about the Boss system, man. He does. You guys should check out his YouTube channel. It's the Jake Rock Workshop.
He said howdy.
Howdy. He flies the Boss. He knows all about it. There's a group of people that know about the magic, and that's what I call it. So I'm just going to go ahead and seat this motor. Do a visual check that my posts are straight. Seat it.
Jake the Rock said, "No, don't." Yule Adam said, "LOL, too late."
All right. So we got one more motor. Now, this not fast enough silverware compile is kind of made, tuned to have a camera on the board. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a test to see that we can go ahead and bind to the board before we do the camera. Make sure the board boots up and see if we can get some prop spinach going. It could take to jumping up and down a little bit because it's used to having the weight. It's tuned to have the weight of a camera on it initially. So it's going to be like acting a little bit light. So I want to use mine because I already have it programmed. So I'm just going to grab my transmitter real quick, guys. Just bear with me.
Kryptonic says, "Yo, you got to twist those wires, dude."
We'll worry about twisting those wires once we get a working quad in the sky.
Makes sense.
So, need my battery.
Steve McDonald just joined in without digging through these posts. What kind of quad is this?
It's a Boss 7 series frame with a Beta FPV light flight controller that runs silverware, but it's running a custom silverware compile. from not fast enough silverware. So what I got here right now, this is my controller, and you can see I already have the multi-protocol iRange X for FlySky installed here. And what I kind of do is, because these electronics are exposed, like here's a brand new one. And I carry this thing with me everywhere, man. So I put some double-sided sticky tape over the component. So if I'm, in a moist environment, it's not going to short out. I did some hot glue here, and I'll be honest with you, these things are like $7, but you got to be real careful. They'll burn out on you quick. I've been through several, and if you are sloppy and you plug your battery in the micro LOSI backwards and push on it, just a half a second at the wrong polarity will burn this chip out. So what I'm going to do here is I need to grab a Whoop class battery, a 1-cell battery.
There should be one up there if you unplug mine.
Yeah, but that runs micro LOSI, and I need a JST 2.0 battery, and I'll just grab one from my case here. So let's take a look here. What we got? We've got the GMB 250 HV charge, and I have some beta FPV batteries.
What's the range on your module there, Brian?
All right, so I haven't actually done a good range test, and that's another drawback from using this actual iRange X module. The range isn't as good as it could be, and I've noticed from my experience, and that's all I really know, is that when I fly the E11 board with this multi-protocol chip, I don't get very good range at all. Flying the H8 Mini, I get double that of the E11, and flying these beta FPV lights, I get maybe just about the same as the H8 Mini. So let me try to guesstimate here. I mean, maybe a football field, maybe. And also I've noticed if I get behind me at a distance, like I'm flying and my controller is pointed forward and I'm flying behind me, I can expect a fail-safe if I'm getting stupid. And I do that a lot. Dan knows. Dan seen me fail-safe one of these frames from like 40 feet straight to the concrete.
Yeah.
And bust it. Because that's how I roll. But anyways, I just got this little 1-cell plugged in here. It's a micro LOSI. I'm going to go ahead and plug beta FPV 230 MAW HV into the Boss beta FPV light flight controller. You'll see it blink. It's going to go into its binding procedure on the back here. As soon as I turn this on, and get the switches up. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it just bound. So we just bound to this. And what I have here is I have it set up to arm on a switch on the FlySky here. And it should go into air mode. There you have it. Now it's going to want to jump real high because it's expecting to have the weight of a camera on it. So, and I just lost my bind too on it. So let me rebind real quick, and we'll talk about a little bit of the modes that it has real quick while we have it here, because the battery got loose. Bind and fly. I'm going to bind. See it blinking? Now it's going through its bind procedure. She just bound. So Silverware is kind of cool, man. You use stick commands on your controller to switch modes. So if I want to fly in stabilized mode, I would go left, left, down. Left, left, down. And see the flight controller just started blinking. And now it should be in stabilized mode. Now if I go on the controller, right, right, down, it'll blink, and now I'm in acro with air mode. So yeah, I think it's working fine. So let's go ahead and turn it off. And let's deal with the camera now. And mounting the camera, that's going to be the hard part. So let's take a look at our camera. See what we do. So I know I'm probably boring some of you guys. So far, what do you guys think about what you have seen? I'm trying to read some comments right now. And if you guys want to take a look at some flight footage,
Jake says you rock.
Jake rocks too.
Very nice and helpful. Very cool. Will do. Thanks. Nice and simple.
So if you guys want to take a look at some flight footage of a Boss 7 frame with the Beta FPV Lite flight controller and a camera, I have a video that's on my YouTube channel called Micro Freestyle. What you talking about, Willis? Micro Brush Freestyle. What you talking about, Willis? And it's about a 3.5 to 4 minute video of just me flying this system, man. It's amazing. So anyways, let's move on to the camera.
John says, can't believe how fast it is going together.
Yeah, it doesn't take much. And like I mentioned in the very beginning, most of the effort's going to be into flashing the board, to be honest with you. That's the biggest curve people have, because it takes a little effort to do it. But I'll be honest with you, I was a little intimidated when I first got into it. And my first attempt at an E11, I flashed it successfully. Since then, I flashed another 4 E11s, 3 Beta FPV Lites, and since Dan's getting this one, I'm taking the new one home. I'm going to flash it tomorrow. An H8 Mini. I flashed. I attempted a B-Whoop B03 Pro and failed. I bought another one and flashed that successfully. And now I've got another one in the bag over here I got cheap on eBay that I'm going to try to flash as well. So I'm sitting deep in these boards right now, to be honest with you. But I can't get, if one breaks, I got to build another one because, you know, I've flown a 65 millimeter King Kong, a Betaflight board, 75 millimeter Beta FPV F3 with OSD board, and that's a great board. 85 millimeter Betaflight board, my 85 millimeter Butterflight, even my mini quad. I would still rather fly this.
Well, if this works, you can, that other flight controller I had, the F3, that's direct flash guy. You'll just have to put Betaflight on. You can take that one with you if this one works for mine. So.
Yeah, no, I'll get Betaflight on that and bring it back to you. I've got some other Betaflight boards too, and I've flown a lot of the different Betaflight F3 boards, and my favorite Betaflight board is the Beta FPV F3 with OSD board. It's a good board. The new B drone Acro B. I flew one of those and I wanted one. I have a B Core. I have 2 B Core version 2 boards. Those are all right. I'd rather fly the Beta FPV. And honestly, every flight controller I find has a slightly different feel, no matter what your rates or PIDs are. They all have a slightly different feel. I don't know if it's the gyro or what. I'm getting experience myself. So, camera time. All right, so we can.
Steve McDonald said, "What makes this choice of flying over the others mentioned?"
Okay, and I'll be like I had mentioned earlier in the stream. Like when I first started flying Acro, I could not fly indoors. I could not fly my micros in proximity to trees. I literally flashed this. I went in my front yard to mate in it, and I was doing rotations around my palm tree, going up in between the branches. A good way to say it is say I'm on my Betaflight micro and I want to do a roll. You know, you punch up, you do your roll, and then because it's a micro, you know it's going to start falling quick. You got to get on that throttle. You got to, you know, you got to punch up real high because you know it's going to drop on you. These don't do that. They just roll in place. Where I could do a single roll, with this I can do a double roll and then yaw out of it tight. It's the combination of the board not fast enough to compile that is optimized for this board and these motors, and the frame. It's a wicked, it's fast, it's light, it's agile. I like it.
If you want to see him fly, you can just look up the video on my channel called Like a Boss.
Yeah, yes. That's a very good example of it. Anyways, so we have this camera right here.
Remember, that's 100 or 25, 100, and 200.
So, you know, you want
that's an animal.
We're going to want to turn it down to 25.
Okay. So,
or it's going to try to, it might overwhelm the board. So what I've done here is I make it so that like my cameras are interchangeable. So I always, instead of just a lot of times, sometimes I'll go straight to the board if it's a weight issue or a cleanliness issue. But now I've been like making plugs on my board and then soldering plugs to the other side of my camera. So like when I crash one and I start to part it out, I don't have to pull out the soldering iron. I can unplug it.
No,
And
the downside of that is it's omnidirectional. There's no way we're gonna put a hood cowl on it with omnidirectional popping out without.
you're right. Maybe we can. Okay, so we have this guy here. Would you want to use this one?
That's fine.
Okay, so
Just remember that one's a weird one because the antenna is on the bottom
so it sits
to make it upright. Yeah, it's funky, huh?
I guess it won't really. Ooh, that is kind of weird, isn't it? So I know that he had some mounts. Let's take a look and see what mounts are here. Maybe we can. Did you look at any of the mounts? We need some mounts.
I mean, and maybe it won't be weird, Brian, just because it came out of one like that. See what I'm saying?
D11 frame.
The red head is in there. Do you see it?
Yes, I do.
That's what it came out of. So it was. So maybe it will work just fine. Stick it in the.
Let's fiddle around with the camera and these hoods and let's see how it's looking. That's the only way to find out.
So that it came out of the red hood.
So let me just see this real quick. Sorry, guys. We're kind of learning as we're going here. That's going to be. You know, maybe with some double-sided sticky or a dab of hot glue. Now, remember, Travis told us to put the camera through the canopy first.
Mm-hmm.
Then we could just basically cut a slit in the back and get this antenna up.
So that might work. That might be fine.
I'm thinking it might actually.
That's also adjustable camera too. If you notice on the bottom, it has a VTX setting for power adjustments.
I don't like those little blue dot VTXs. You know what I mean? But I
Don't
seem to
appreciate.
no. Well, that's what I seem to be getting lately. So okay. So now the best way to remove this camera, Dan. So maybe we should just go ahead and cut this.
Yeah, fine.
That way we don't have to.
Just leave enough wire in case you want to touch another camera
Exactly.
to it easily.
So we grab my scissors. These are mine.
Yeah.
I can tell. So we're just gonna.
Yeah, because that flight controller's still good.
Yep, and then every time that you bring a soldering iron to the board, you take a risk, in my opinion. So I try not to unnecessarily. So we're gonna set this right here. So now we have a camera. I have a wire stripper somewhere too. So I'm just looking for a wire stripper right now. So bear with me, gentlemen, and any ladies that are viewing.
Hey, Reed.
Hey. So I have a yellow one, and I have the big boy. Here it is. Sorry. All right. Industrial wire strippers.
18 people watching.
18 people are interested in the Boss Series frame and flight
Crazy you found
control.
an audience this one.
Sometimes I sound like a broken record, and I talk about it so much that sometimes I think people don't really want to know. No, I got it stuck in here. If you guys know me from Instagram, I'm like tagging it every day.
And I am happy with the output of that camera. That made it all the way around the back of my house while I was in the front. No problem.
So yeah,
pretty serious output.
I tried to fly from Dan's front yard all the way to around his house to the backyard, and I broke up my video, and it was my antenna. I replaced that antenna, Dan.
Yeah.
And I'm getting much better signal now.
Well, that's the Google RC T36 camera.
Really?
Yeah, that's from that little red one. I tore it apart just to build something else.
Nice. So now I'm going to we're fixing to getting a little bit of soldering. What I like also about
you want me to power it up?
Not just for another minute or so.
Okay.
I want to get everything set up, but I want to grab the plug that I'm looking for. Things are getting a little messy up here. So I had the other Beta FPV flight controller. No. So it's another case just like it. Bear with me, guys. I seem to have misplaced the flight controller. So these flight controllers also come with a mounting kit and then a plug for your camera, which is beautiful. So, but we don't have the right plug. We're gonna have to solder straight. Darn it, man.
Straight to the board?
Yeah.
What do you got for plug?
we need a female. I don't know what size this is. A female one of these.
A male or
A male. I'm sorry, Dan. Uh-oh.
There's actually in that plastic bag, I believe there's one in there.
All right, Dan to the rescue here. Ooh, there it is. Looky here. That's beautiful, man.
Save all my connections.
Yeah, Dan's got connections. You know, I might do the lighter on this one. See, I just dropped it.
Oh, shit.
Can I borrow one of you guys' lighter? Let me have a lighter.
Yeah.
This would be easier because I don't want to.
Yeah, that's what I do. Heat it up and then just pull
Yeah, I'm
it
gonna
off with your fingernail.
use the lighter to strip this wire, but I don't want to do it right over the computer equipment or the board, so I'm going to do it off camera here real quick, guys.
That's how I direct wire. Then you grab it while it's molten hot. You
Yep.
pull it off with your
And just
fingernail.
take the pain.
No,
Then you smell that plastic. Oh,
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm used to this guy's fingers. Yeah.
I love that plastic, man. No, I'm just joking. I do not like that plastic smell. So
Yeah, so I used to direct wire CD players like that.
I've been like looking at the Baby Hawk R. I've made my decision, guys. I'm gonna get a Baby Hawk R. Anybody fly one of those? Anybody have one of those out there?
Oh, I suppose I should be watching the comment section. Okay. Make it do things. Yay.
All right.
Okay. Oh, wow. Matterworks.
So I was going past the library by my house on a Sunday with my son, and I saw these guys. I thought they were flying fixed wing planes at the library. So I was running some errands, and on the way home, they were still out there. And one guy had FPV goggles on. So you know me, I got to pull in there and say, "What's up, guys?" Well, these guys weren't flying fixed wings. They were flying drones, and lots of them. And one of the guys there was really, really cool and nice. And you want to fly my Baby Hawk R? Yeah, I do. Man, when I landed that thing, I couldn't get the smile off my face, guys. That thing is nasty wicked, man. It's wicked. It's got a lot of power. And it's super smooth.
15 likes down to 16 watchers. Entertaining.
All right, so let's go ahead and plug the soldering iron in here, Dan.
All right.
And
Do you want to use yours or mine? Do you have yours
yours
set?
is set right here, so we're gonna use yours, but I use my supplies.
Okay. Well, there's already solder up there and flux if you want it.
All right, I use like a different kind of flux. This is what I'm using. So we're getting our soldering equipment together right now.
I'm heating up the gun now.
A little solder there. We'll probably need like a wet towel or something.
All right, now just give me 1 second when we get that. Just remember this is set for like 450.
Super hot.
It's gonna be really extremely hot.
I'm gonna bring it down. I need my glasses because I'm old.
You're good.
I do mine right. I do mine literally not that hot when I go on these microcontrollers.
I've been soldering big stuff. so-
Yeah, no. With these, man, if it's too hot, you'll lose pads and stuff. So
totally up to you.
what I'm gonna do is prep these two.
When that's hot, Brian,
Uh-huh.
take that razor blade and just slide it down it and clean off the head.
Okay.
I'll leave that up there for you. Same as steel wool, it just cleans off the head.
Right. So
It's sharp enough that it just
Spin a
shaves
little
everything
add a
else.
little bit of flux to these wires so I can tin them up. Then I'm gonna tin them, and then we're gonna a little more flux.
You're
And
using, I'm a liquid fluxer. It's so easy.
well, I couldn't find a liquid flux when I saw it on Amazon and I just didn't buy it. Oh gosh.
And watch, people are going to start yelling about cold solder joints here. That's coming. Is there a good Discord channel for guys like us where the micros chat? Yeah, drone worship. Join my Discord, bro. Maddox wants to know what you're building. People are fragile and tough.
Okay, we're building a Boss 7 series micro quad with a Beta FPV light flight controller.
May not be hot enough.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna let it get a little hotter. I have the exact same iron, Dan.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. I never been on there. What are you building? Can I see? Yeah, I can see fine still. What? I don't know what they're talking about.
This is what we're working on right here, guys. And actually, right now we've already got the flight controller installed. We have silverware flashed with not fast, and that's custom compile for 7x16 motors in the Boss frame. And we have the Boss frame and motors installed. We've binded to the flight controller and tested to see that it works. And now we're going to install the camera. We're just kind of waiting for the soldering iron to heat up. I'm going to tin the wires, and then I'm going to solder a connection to the camera that we can plug right into the flight controller. And yeah, at that point in time, we're going to have to mount the camera. And bing, bing, bing.
I don't even think you need a night vision. Somebody said install a night vision camera. Nah, man. If we were going to go that route, I would install FLIR.
Like a FLIR system.
Thermal.
I thought about making because I fly a lot at night in parking lots. I thought about just building something with a night optimized camera.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, who am I trying to kid? I like to fly like 3 different. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna fly whatever I want to fly anyways. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna waste my time and money. I'm just gonna.
Yeah, well, that's the next thing I want to do with the Solo is install a FLIR camera.
That would be awesome, man.
All right, take this Solo up in thermal.
Yeah, the police will want to work with you then.
That's not my problem.
No, they'll want you for information, like who's
Yeah.
got the hot roof, if you know what I mean.
Hey, sir, I don't have to wait for your helicopter to warm up. How we doing this thing?
All right, so let me see where we're at.
Thermal FLIR cameras are not that expensive. Sony makes a FLIR camera that's pretty affordable.
Just a little flux on the end.
Yeah.
Then we'll go ahead and do a little tinning. See if we got enough heat to tin with. Not quite yet.
I always start in the middle.
You know, Dan, yours is a.
I always start in the middle though. Mine doesn't produce a lot of head heat, but if you get up near the middle of it, it definitely heats up quick.
Mine jams up quick, but I feel it heating up now. So we just need a little more time on this solder. Now I can see the elements heating.
Consider I've been running mine at 450 for like I don't know, hours.
So yeah. I've also been fiddling around with I have a QAV clone frame, and I met this guy last week. He lives close to me. His name is Brian. He's a pilot too, and we went out and flew, and I saw some of his builds, and totally, he was running a QAV out there too, and it was running race flight, and my stars. It totally motivated me to I look at this frame every day and I'm like, I've got to get the components together for it. So I want to build that out too. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, it's pretty hot. Like I said, I would just get some solder going in the middle of it and let it drip down and then go from there.
Just gonna put a little flux on there.
Just touch the middle till you start getting some nice drippies. You'll get it.
There we go. Yeah. I'm not used to this solder now.
That's what I said. If you want to use your, I can plug it in with it.
Yeah, let's do that. Because
Okay.
then I know right where I stand.
Right.
You know what I mean? So what I'm going to do here is
We'll just reset then.
I'm going to set this here like that.
Sure.
But maybe not. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think I've been my stand. So
Let you do your thing there. I'll plug you in immediately. You get your fingers off it.
Yep.
All right.
So we're going to switch soldering irons real quick, guys, just so we can speed
There,
this up a
you can
little bit.
see it. I'm gonna hold this one until it cools off. It won't take long.
I can get a reaction from her with it. Tap her with it.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's steel, so it'll cool off pretty quick.
Yeah, they cool off quick. So sorry for the lull, guys.
My bad. He doesn't like my soldering iron.
But we can still talk about quads and stuff, right?
Yeah.
There's stuff to talk about. I mean, come on.
2 soldering irons. What the fuck's happening? Well, I use mine at a very hot rate all the time, so mine might be a little more worn out than his is.
Dan works on a wider variety of stuff than I do.
Yeah, I solder massive
Yeah.
connections. I like a lot of heat going all the time. It
And
makes my job simpler.
I do a lot of micro stuff.
Huh? Hey. Yeah. Well, I'm talking right at the microphone.
Come on, buddy.
What?
So yeah,
You can if you talk loud enough.
let me get in the comments here. See if I can read these comments a little
All
bit.
right,
Let me move the
100.
camera up just for a second.
That's why I said. Remember, it's
You're
always-
absolutely right.
There
Okay.
you go. Say
All
hi to that
right.
beautiful face.
Oh, I need to take off my glasses to see here.
Looking all sick. Oh yeah, yeah.
2 soldering irons. Yeah, no. Dan's got his and I've got mine. And same model, different temperatures. Only amateurs use one.
One is too slow.
That is true. TS100 equals yes. Yes. No doubt, man.
Oh, babe, I didn't realize you weren't connected to my internet.
TS100 is nice. That's the soldering iron, man. No doubt. Yeah, isn't the TS100 where you can like upgrade the firmware on it and stuff? Yeah, the USB one, I think it is. That thing is wicked, man. It's a soldering iron, and you can like it has firmware.
Is it hot enough now?
Yes,
All right, you want to pull your camera down so you can see?
yes. I want to put my glasses on so I can see first, because I'm old and blind, baby.
Because I don't forget about them. That's what this whole
Yes,
thing's about.
sir. Let's come on down a little bit here. See where we're standing and
You got a good visual? Yep, you're good.
for that. So first I'm gonna just
Excellent. Yeah, I'm looking at your angle. You're good.
gonna get a little bit of solder on the tip here. And then we start tinning this, making sure I get it nice and evenly covered there. That's all it takes to tin that. And then we're going to
Here, if you move it to the edge, B, around the edge, it'll sit better.
gotcha. This is going to be a little bit of a challenge because it's so small. So I'm going to use a prop. How am I going to do this? Like this. Oh, can you guys see that? I'm just going to hit the tips of this camera lead real quick.
I can see it.
It doesn't take much. Just these wires are very thin. But what you want to do is make sure you don't shake like I'm doing. And you want to make sure that that solder is going all the way through the wire, kind of like a sponge, not just on,
Penetrating.
penetrating, so that you get a nice and even electrical connection.
That's why I leave mine extremely hot. It penetrates so easily with liquid flux.
Alrighty, so I'm just gonna go ahead and add a little more flux to these connections, not too much, just enough to get it the solder to flow where I want it. And just gonna put.
Hear that, guys? He wants it to flow.
I want to make it flow, y'all, because that's how I roll.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah. All right, so it's got a lot of soldering is just being patient and get. And I'm no expert. Trust me, I've blown up quite a few components.
That plus flux, and you'll see, like, know what you're doing. Oh, yeah, flux is solder lube. Dude, I love flux. Flux simplifies everything.
Yes, it does actually.
Makes
Too
it-
much flux though.
Yeah. It makes it beat off.
Yeah,
Yeah, boy.
so I got a flux pen now. Any of you guys use a flux pen? So,
You making it so they can see what you're doing?
oh yeah, sorry. I keep.
I gotta remind you.
I'm just basically putting a little bit of flux on the tip of the soldering iron. Now I'm just gonna put these two together here. I've got to get the right angle on it, and it should solder together nice. That's the negative. This is gonna be the hard one. Then we're just gonna That should be the positive right there. Oop. And that's a good way to ruin your tip by the tip of your soldering iron by jamming it into the stand like I just did. So I'm gonna give these connections a little yank. Then I'm gonna give them a very close visual inspection to make sure I'm satisfied with them, and I am. I don't think the camera is going to blow up. So what I've kind of been doing with these little ones is that we need to cover these.
You have a choice. I have electrical tape, or we can just put a dab of hot glue on each of them.
What do you think is easier, Dan? I
Up to
usually
you.
use electrical tape, but I find that after a while, if I'm flying a lot, if I'm flying in dirt and stuff, that the electrical tape will start to come off the connection. So I'll end up like 2 weeks later opening it up and getting dirt out. And
Well, normally I do shrink wrap, but like I said, I can put a dab of hot glue on them,
yeah, let's do that.
and that's what you want to do.
So we can
Switch them real quick.
at this point, I think we can go ahead and just turn the soldering iron off because that's the only connections that we needed to make.
It is done.
And as soon as this cools down, we'll wrap that up and we'll put the hot glue in there. So
Hot glue starting up.
all right, we're gonna do that.
That'll heat up pretty quickly.
So we got the hot glue gun heating up right now. I'm going to clean up the work area just a little bit here. And we are very close. We're to the point now where we just need to clean up the wiring connections on the camera here and get it mounted.
So I think from this point, it's just hot glue gun. Pretty much.
Yeah, man.
Then we have to disconnect the wires and twist them.
Yep, prettier up. Yeah, it'll be. I can guarantee you this thing is gonna fly great, Dan. So let me give you your multi-protocol.
Yeah, we'll have to set that up. You don't have to do it tonight. We can do it another time.
Do you have a one cell micro LOSI for it?
I don't think so.
Yeah, you do.
Oh, you're talking about the? Oh yeah.
For your eye range.
Yeah, we're good.
Now, what I did find with these eye ranges, is I'll charge a one cell micro LOSI battery. This is the one I've been using, and it'll last a week.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't take much power. Sometimes I'll forget to turn it off,
Right.
and I'll come by, 2 hours later, and I'll see the lights on. I'll be like, "Oh, it's been on," and it takes a lot to wear out. But when it does go out, it'll start acting real freaky. When you're flying, it'll start acting freaky. It'll start doing moves on its own, and I'm like, okay, my battery's low. So, all right, hot glue gun is hot gluing. It's getting ready.
Yeah, I didn't have my tip screwed in over there, so.
So here's a tip: screw in your tip.
Yeah, I didn't have that screwed in over there. That was probably just because it wasn't screwed in all the way.
So yeah, here's my other case. So while that's heating, we can look at something else. So
Called Creative Channel. Thanks. It's pretty cool.
I'm going to be right back, gentlemen. I'm going to grab my Whoop case, wherever it may be. I think it's in the other room. Let me grab it.
Still got 17 people watching. Brian will be right back, guys. We're just waiting for the glue gun to heat up. Like a boss.
I'm going to wrap up my Whoop case. My little drone on case.
Oh.
Added. I have my little Beta FPV Whoop case, and I have the H8 Mini in there. I was going to show that, but I wonder if we have hot glue.
It should be ready.
All right.
Yeah, it's already melted up on the top. You just have to prime it a couple times. Just work with it. You'll see. Just give it a few squeezes until it starts coming through.
I'm putting my glasses on because I'm an oldie but goodie. So what I'm doing here is
just give some good squeezes. There you go.
We're gonna do the Dan hot glue the connector.
Oh yeah, that's good. Then you can just shape it with the tip because it's so hot. Yeah.
Dirty minds think a lot alike. So yeah, I don't do as good of a job with the hot. Dan's an artist with a hot glue gun. I'm here to tell you guys. I've seen him do things with a hot glue gun that just blows my mind. I'm serious. He gained my respect with the hot glue gun.
Oh, dude, hot glue is your friend, bro.
All right, I'm just gonna give this a second to dry here, and then we'll let Dan inspect.
Let me blow. Let me blow. Let's speed it up.
He's putting the magic drone worship touch on it.
Yeah.
The hands that have flown a mini drone. That's what I say.
Mini drone.
Mini drone. Hey, you guys want to know something pretty cool? Some of you guys know it, some of you don't. If you dig deep into Dan's videos, you'll find the video the day where I discovered FPV. And that's that park video.
Oh yeah.
Like I had been trying to, I rigged up my own I didn't know what I was doing, guys. I rigged up my own goggles and I don't know what I was doing. And Dan's like, you know, you can try my goggles out. We'll fly whoops at the park. And I was a rookie flying stabilized with the whoops then. Remember?
I was flying the Bugs 3.
Yeah, I tried to fly through a pavilion in stabilized mode and I couldn't do it. And I had just been flying. I never really I put Dan's goggles on. I started flying.
A lot of exposed stuff.
Good call, Dan. And before we left, I was like, what goggles do I need to buy, Dan? Where do I get them from? You remember? That night I ordered the goggles, man. And pretty much, to be honest with you guys, that's pretty much the time when I kind of stopped flying GPS quads and went to the dark side and just started getting all freaky on FPV, man. And I still love the GPS quads though, bro. There's nothing like it, man. But I don't know. So I blame Dan for all the stuff that I do now.
Yeah, boy.
It's his fault, man. He did it. He did it to me. Then he had me doing FPV on a Bugs 3. Oh, it was over then.
Well, yeah, that's what kicked it all off.
Yeah, it was over after that. It was
Now,
over.
Do you want me to just tap these together now with glue? So
That's up to you. It's going to be on your quad.
Will it make it easier? I think it will.
I think it will.
So we'll just put one little bead in between.
So yeah, we're going to just take that camera and we're going to plug it right into the board here. We're going to have to yank up some goggles, man, and test it. And then if that's working, we're going to mount it. So yeah, you guys want to see the batteries I've been using for these lately? You know, that's another thing too. The bosses ain't that picky. I mean, the battery's not fast enough with flying. We're smaller than this, and he was getting insane performance. But kind of these are the batteries of my choice that I've been using lately for these.
He was flying the one cells, the big ones like mine.
Yeah, like this.
Yeah.
Well, these are pretty much the same, but I kind of stick with these two brands here lately. The GNB 250 HVs and the Beta FPV 230 HVs. Now they make also a longer GNB. I have a bunch of those. And here's what I've kind of found, like for 7/16 and 6mm, these 250s are great because they have a lot of power and not a lot of weight and not a lot of size. But as you kind of move up to 720s or 8.5mm motors, man, they demand a lot more. So
Mike Brooks in the house.
Mike Brooks, what is up?
Weaves World. Are you making this from scratch?
Pretty much, yeah. I guess we could say that, right?
Yeah.
But
it's all different parts, obviously, but yeah, scratch.
As we get into the 720s and 8.5mm, I've been getting, and C-Ray Tech turned me on to those. Thanks a lot, C-Ray. First I bought the Beta FPV 450 Moz. Then I got into the GNB 500s and 450s. And those things are awesome. They're like this, but they're like double the size. They're a 500. And they're too heavy for these. But as you get into 720, 75mm and 85mm whoop style, they're perfect. So what I'm going to do right now is we have the camera, we have a connector soldered on, and
this is nice and hot, so you can put it on the head.
Okay.
When you're ready.
And we're going to just plug it in, and just like it's the same connector as the motor, basically. So I'm going to take a look at the plug and ensure that my two holes are lined up, because if you invert it and push it in there, it's going to either ruin your plug or power will flow through and burn your camera out. So you always want to just double check and make sure that you have those suckers lined up. And if you're pushing it in and it's not going, don't force it. Pull it out and take another look at it. Make sure you're getting it right. Sucks to have a build and then burn your camera out towards the end of it. Trust me, it's happened to me. And yeah, it's no fun. So, all right. So we need to get some goggles here and see if it's working.
Kryptonic says I never use those type of batteries. Only the micro Lozi.
Well, let me tell you something, Kryptonics. Here's the difference between the micro Lozi connector and the JST or PH, whatever, the 2.0 connector, the power whoop connector. They call it a power whoop connector for a reason, man. You upgrade to these square connectors, and you're getting a choke hold, bro.
Ooh,
Right?
Jake says he doesn't use them.
Well, I do, and I've used both. And from my experience, the minute I switched to these power whoop connectors, I got a lot more power.
Yeah.
And this was back in the King Kong days. Now I tried the little whoop connector, I tried the micro Lozi connector, and then I bought some of the Beta FPV ones, and I've never went back.
Jake says, what props are you using? These are the ones that were
Okay, yeah.
not fast enough. Do you remember what they came from?
No, I do not. And
Was it an airplane or
we're gonna have to ask him because he came with these props, and he said these are the best props, and I'd never seen them before.
they were cheap too. They come from an airplane or something.
And I've been using either some of these Beta FPV tri-blades, and then I started getting into these. Oh my stars! What are
Then we saw him rip a pack on these propellers.
Yeah.
It was absolute insanity on these.
so? No, it was, and it gets better performance than the props I was using. So I don't know what's up with these paddle style or where he's getting them from, but Dan has a pair. But for the Boss, I kind of started with these tri-blades, but actually I kind of graduated to started using these.
Man, he was doing power loops
Yes.
on a 1-cell battery, doing Matty flips and
Yeah.
everything. He was killing it on it.
And he said, these the props. So I haven't experienced them myself yet. So I'm excited for Dan. He gets to buy some really cool props. But in the past, I've been using these, and then I built a larger Boss, and I was using the Parrot props on it. And whoa, that's all I can say about that. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug in this battery here. Well, we'll get some goggles. So
My goggles are out there on the stove.
battery and everything there. I'm gonna go grab goggles, guys.
Yeah, it's my goggles should be on the stove or the table. Good night, Lloyd. Thanks for stopping in, brother. Huh?
I've got Dan's goggles here.
Yeah, that'll work. Just plug them in. You probably have to go through that. You want me to find them?
I'm not familiar with these at
Alright.
all, so
So just plug in the quad. Let me.
I'm handing the goggles over to Dan, and he's gonna check
test
it
the
out.
camera.
So my eyes are very blurry. I gotta worry.
Powered up.
Yeah, I see it's
Oh,
getting
we're
power.
instantly there. The camera's upside down now. And now we're right side up.
That should be right? So the camera's working.
Damn, are we upside down again? How did that work?
I don't know what's going on here.
Oh, there we go. We're upright.
That's upright.
Yeah, that's why I said that. The
That is a weird
camera's
camera.
on the bottom.
Wait, then that would be upright.
That's upside down, brother. Look.
Okay, bear with me.
Oh,
No, the antenna's on top, brother.
that's really strange, huh?
Do you think maybe it has an inverted image button? Like if you hold it for so long, it'll flip the image?
I have no
Because
idea.
I have a camera like that.
I don't know what the button does, honestly. I had never tested it. It was just there.
Well, we have a working camera. So let's see. Can we show the camera on camera?
Yeah,
Let's show the camera on camera. We're going to look at I don't know what I just don't want to set it on the flight controller exposed. So I don't know if we can see this.
You can just lean the computer thing back. Here's the view. You can slide up in there like that.
All right.
Box goggles.
The Boxiers. All right, so there's stuff going on, you guys. It's kind of looks weird on screen, and I apologize, but you can see the camera is indeed working, and it's starting to get hot. So that's telling me, it could be. We'll have to make sure the VTX is set at 25 milliwatts.
All of them get like that.
Yeah, they do.
They all get hot, man.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and unplug the battery. Now we need to. What time is it? All right.
What?
Midnight's when I want to.
Wrap things up.
Yes, sir. So what are we going to do here? We're going to mount it on like a Boss
Yeah.
canopy.
And we also need to put a sticker on it when we
Yes. Oh, I want Jake Rock to see that.
do it. Those are the stickers are in the box.
You got to see these stickers, Jake. I don't know where they are. We got a box full of goodies from Not Fast Enough here. I didn't get to go through them, so I know they're in here somewhere.
I think I took 2 and put them on my dog.
Because you're a boss.
Yeah.
You're a boss. We got some more canopies in black. Oh, sweet, dude. I don't know where the stickers are, Dan. I'm not seeing them.
Oh, they're in there.
Wait.
A little tiny white strip of them.
Oh, look at this, Jay. Like a boss stickers, man. You know that's cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's cool. All right. How are we going to do this, Dan?
Success. Oh, damn. Jake said, oh, damn, of course.
And there's some Shanghai canopies, too.
He said, nice. Hook a brother up with a link in the group. Bro.
Yeah, man.
Is that LSD? What?
Yeah, it's the double dips. If you know anything about that.
My woman has officially fallen asleep on my stomach.
She's nuzzling, Dan. She's not sleeping.
Hmm.
There's a difference. So we got to figure out how to mount this camera, brother.
That's what I'm saying. You got glue right there. You can unplug it, right? Oh,
Yeah.
we're not worried about the canopy.
I just can't see it until I put my glasses on and unplug it.
Oh, well, show me what upright is and I'll mount it.
That was upright last time I took a look.
All right. Unplug it.
So, like I always lose my glasses. I have to wear glasses to see close proximity now, and I lose them. So I went to the store, and I live in where old people live because I'm in Florida. I live in a senior citizens area. So the dollar store there, they sell reading glasses for $1.
Canopy?
And I went in there and I bought 5 pair.
You said the antenna upright was upright?
Yes.
That's weird, huh?
Yeah.
That's a funky...
You want to just double check it one more time?
No.
Okay.
I think we'll be all right.
So I bought 5 pair of those glasses, and I just put a pair on my workbench, a pair on my work desk, a pair in the living room, a pair in the garage, and then I have a pair that I have around my neck now. I put them around my neck because I'll
And he
lose them.
said to shove these through, correct?
Yep.
All the way through?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Dan's mounting the camera right now, and he's in a very leisurely position, so I don't think the camera will go over there. He looks very comfortable. I'm jealous, man.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, so imagine that black canopy on the black frame. Oh, dude, we should
This
have.
camera's not moving once I'm done with this, okay?
Yeah, I know, but we should have. I wish we'd have cut out a black one now. So
All
let's
good, man.
take a look. There was a. This is when I was digging on these. Now, understand that Not Fast Enough made these himself. It's the Shanghai mullet, baby. Well, it's kind of hard to see with that. Maybe that will help to show the shape. It's got the little mohawk on there, so whenever you flip. Anyways, yeah, so I was having some car trouble on the way here. My battery died at the Walgreens. And it's been happening a lot lately. You know, I think I have a bad connection or something. Dan's hot gluing away. So I'm going to bring the camera up for a second so I can read the comments here real quick. Yeah, really? For John Heights with the glasses? Yeah, man. $1. Oh, and the next trap cost $1 too. I had to dig because I'm in senior citizen land, so they're all like 70s flower patterns. So I found 1 pair of black ones, and I was like, "Those are mine."
Okay, bro. Marathon.
Put some lipo in your car, yeah, because I've got a bad car battery, but I'm rolling around with like Whoop batteries charged and a 3S to.
So did you want to cut a little spot in the back for that antenna?
Yeah, I'm thinking. So Dan's got the camera. Oh, look at that camera angle too, man.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, no, these things book. They're really fast. And another thing too that I've learned and I've been told repetitively, I can't even say the word, light. The key to the boss frame is to keep it light.
Every gram counts.
Every half gram counts. Now, this plug here, that plug there. I mean, it's a give and take with anything. That's any quads. It's give and take.
So I hope that is that extreme enough for you, the camera angle.
You're the one that's gonna be flying
Oh
it,
yeah, I'm gonna be flying it like an asshole.
but it's gonna be hard to land in acro.
Nah,
I'll tell you right now.
tilt the front
it
down,
is.
last second drop it.
So
What did I do with them? I think I gave them to you. They're up there in the corner.
well, I was over there trying to get on the M&Ms.
Ham
but-
Solo, stop chewing on your house.
Yeah, what's up, Ham Solo?
He's chewing on his house like an asshole. Hey,
He's making the
Ham.
house his. So
Ham.
I'm get the camera back down. I'm gonna start working
Oh
on
my
the.
god, he's being such a dick right now. Ham Solo, stop. No.
So I'm just gonna very carefully put my glasses on, and I'm gonna cut a little
Look at him.
slit here
He's trying to tip his house over.
so that we can get this antenna routed right out the back.
He's being a dick in the bedroom. My guinea pig is being an a-hole right now. He's trying to tip his house over.
We do something like that, and then maybe a little piece of
Ham, stop.
very thin and small electrical tape. All right, so we're gonna need to pop some holes in the side to mount the screws on the side. So
But
what?
he's pulling the tape. That's what I want him to stop doing. Can you, like, scare him for a sec?
Let's take a look here. So I'm going to try to match this up real quick and see what we're looking at. I'm going to be extremely careful with the antenna on this flight controller. I'm going to have to move it though, but what you don't want to do is you don't want to put any stress on the point where the antenna meets the board. That is a weak spot. And once that breaks off, it's kind of hard to solder back on, and it's a pain in the behind, man.
Put some lipo in your car. I work on them every day. Check the connections for rust. Then add a 1/4 teaspoon of Epsom salt to each cell.
Really,
Use iron.
that's great advice.
When
Man.
is Han Solo going for his first ride on the Solo? It's not Han Solo, it's Ham. He's a guinea pig. Ham Solo.
So I'm just kind of fiddling with this canopy right now, just trying to fit it to see exactly if it's going to line up properly. It looks like it's going to line right up.
It's your hot era.
Maybe not. Maybe we'll have to. Yeah, it will once we get the screws in. So we're going to need to pop 2 holes. I wonder what's the best way.
All right, so you want me to heat up the solder gun for 2 seconds?
No, I just did it with a screwdriver.
You are a boss, sir.
So I just put my finger underneath it and apply even pressure. Now I'm going to pop a little hole in here, baby.
There we go. Mike says Ham Solo. Excuse me. Ham, yes, Ham Solo.
Ham sandwich.
Ham Solo.
All right, so I'm going to plug the camera in.
When is Ham Solo going for his first ride on the Solo? That's up to him. I'm building a basket. When he's ready, he'll jump in.
Oh, imagine the animal activist on
Oh,
that
I know. I thought
video.
about that. I was like, damn.
Oh, they'll have us for breakfast.
Oh. Not if he wants to go.
So
If he jumps in willingly, like, let's do this.
I'm just kind of like finding the best way to tuck these cables in under this canopy. And it's, of course, going to be a little pain in the booty. What's nudie?
Look at that angle, bro. That flight angle.
So we can maybe take a little black tape. And
Yeah.
all right, screw time. I've got this screw here.
So you're leaving the antenna on the outside?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, what the idea is to have it shooting right up here. Now, what I've kind of been doing with mine is I take a little piece of black electrical tape, a real thin one, and I just kind of tape it against the canopy so it stays right there.
Right.
So another thing, guys, I do is anytime I see a little screw, anything like that, I keep them.
For every project.
And over time, I've been accumulating soft mounts for flight controllers. I've got a few now because every time you try to mount one of these on your board, it's going to pop off and end up on the floor. So I just grab another one. I've been using these O-rings to soft mount on these little carbon fiber frames. But I have a little screw collection going on here, and I'm very proud of my screw collection. I know it's weird, but guys, you have to realize I am very strange.
Right. Comment.
I'm finding matching screws right now.
Still got 16 watchers. Wow. I'm surprised we kept so many.
I am too, because this has kind of gotten a little dragged out a little longer than I
And
expected.
we got 23 likes now and 15 views. We dropped just last week.
Well, people are having to go to work, man.
True. True.
Can't fault them for that.
I just can't wait to get in acro again. Up in the air.
This is going to do you right, Dan.
Excellent.
So I'm just trying to make sure everything's lined up properly here because I'm having a hard time seeing the holes here. I need to get some better lighting angle. I'm just making sure everything's lining up here. And I'm going to try to mount the canopy as we speak right now.
And we apologize, guys. This was a pretty long build.
I spent a lot of time talking, or maybe I shouldn't have.
It's all good.
That's what I do. So hopefully this is the hardest part right here, lining up these holes for this canopy. This is going to require a little patience on my part here.
Take that. Each.
Maybe if I see it, I just dropped a screw. And you know what, guys? I'm not going back for it. I'm just going to grab another one. So what I need to do is
Hear that, guys? Brian's trying to kill my guinea pig when he finds it on the floor and eats it.
Thank you, sir. I'm gonna get tons of lots of ladies are gonna unsubscribe from my channel because of animal cruelty.
Episode back. What a nice screw.
What are you doing to my? It's not a hamster. That's a guinea pig. Sorry.
He's a tiny one too, guys. He's small. He's like 5 weeks old.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's a little guy.
So right now, what I'm doing here is because this, it's a 3D print. I'm gonna go ahead and countersink these screws prior to screwing them in, because I just cannot see the holes. So I'm going to go ahead and screw it in and then unscrew it and screw it on the other side so I have some established holes.
And what are you doing? Oh my god, this guinea pig's going to be the death of me, guys. I have to constantly watch him and make sure he's not eating cardboard. They're supposed to chew on it, not swallow the shit.
Wait till you have a child, Dan.
Oh gosh.
Patience is a virtue.
Hey, not fast enough in the house.
Hey, what's up, Travis? How you doing?
Yo. It's almost done there, Travis.
We're just mounting the canopy right now.
Brian scoffed at my design and ripped it apart and built this thing.
I didn't scoff at your design. I'm just having a hard time seeing the holes, man.
I emailed him. He thought the ZD Thunder, and I was like, "Yep, Brian's probably gonna scoff at my design."
No, man, it looked pretty good. It looked like I had pulled out my H8 Mini. We were looking at how he mounted the camera and how I mounted mine.
So we have the creator of the Boss series in the house right now.
Yes. This live stream is, I guess you could say, kind of more or less, parts are sponsored by Not Fast Enough, because a lot of the stuff was donated by him. The motors, the frame here, the canopy, the props. And now, since Travis is here, maybe we can ask him directly, because we were struggling to remember where you got the props from and what model these props came from here. And there were some questions, I guess, earlier. And I can't read the chat.
Okay.
Because the computer is, but Dan can.
What? Did you want some of your own M&Ms? Okay.
I want an M&M.
Look, did you want some M&Ms, bro?
I'll have one.
They're a unique kind.
What are they?
Crunch mixed with chocolate.
Oh, I've had them.
Oh, I have not.
I took 2. M&Ms.
Fat guy's life.
I'm trying to be a fat guy.
Yeah. Oh, hell.
I am, man. So, guys, I was losing a lot of weight there. I couldn't gain it.
Dang, Travis. You kind of showed up at the end of the build. You missed all our 3 hour of hoopla before this.
We talked a lot about
everything.
Silverware and the frame. We talked a lot about the differences between standard silverware. I just cannot get this screw in the hole.
Huh?
And your flavor, the Not Fast Enough flavor of silverware. And some of the differences.
We started streaming at 8.
I'm having a hard time lining this hole up. This is one of the final ones, too.
Travis said that's the best time to show up. Velcro FPV says grab an old motor and use it as a magnet on your screwdriver.
I I kind of just have a Oh yeah, definitely. It's a little magnetized now. It's losing it.
You sure? You want to wipe? Wipe away.
For what? What do you mean?
Just magnetize the screwdriver. Just wipe it across it once. Long ways.
Or you just
There you go. And now touch the screw.
Okay. Just do that real quick.
Yeah, I could do that. Whatever.
But I'm having a hard time lining the hole up because it's black.
Okay, you have something I would like. You have more than one thing I like. Yeah.
Oh man, it's getting late.
When you...
That should be lined up. Once I get one, I'll be good. Maybe I'll have Dan come and finish the last 2 screws because they're the hardest. And it's his baby.
Charles Stevenson is back.
Nice. Welcome back, Charles. I can't get it in the hole. What's new? Nah. It's because it's black on black, man.
Sounds like a hate crime.
Doesn't it?
Tiny Whoop hate crimes.
But yeah, we discussed, the differences between the flavor. Then we I was thinking maybe the not fast enough was blend of silverware might be a little too aggressive for Dan and his state of acro. But then I thought, no. Give it to him.
I'm gonna kill it.
You're gonna have to help me with these last 2 screws, Dan.
All right.
Because I just can't line the holes up, dude.
Yeah, that's what she said.
So actually, you want to just take
Shit,
over?
Shit, bring in the freight train. All right, okay.
Finish these last 2 screws out. And I'm gonna take 5 while he does that. Then we're gonna come back in. If we can get these screws in, we're gonna bind it and I guess hover it here. So we have some really cool like a boss stickers here. Nice canopy and a frame. So we're gonna let me switch real quick.
After you, I can't fit in there with you either.
Making space for Mr. Drone Worship.
Big guy.
So I'll brief you quickly. You'll see what I'm talking about. I should have better eyes than that.
All right, let's see what you got going on here.
Right underneath the split, you see the screws there?
Mhm.
I countersunk the holes. You can see the screw holes on the side.
Yeah.
You got to line them up, man.
Okay.
It's going to be hard, Dan.
Okay.
I'm going to return in 2 minutes.
Okay.
Oh, there's the string. Are you watching the string?
Yeah, he had it on for the comment.
Dan's good at lining screws up. It's kind of hard for me. With that black on black.
Ah, you fucker.
All right.
Did you want to see the comment?
Where the hell did that thing go? It's
If you-
stuck to the motor, I think.
Yeah, that happens a lot too. That's the first place you check is the motor and then the floor. But if you need more,
Where did that thing just go?
I think it hit the floor, Dan.
I don't think so. I was right here. That's really weird. No, see, I knew it.
There you go. In the event you lose a screw, though, you can replace it with any one of these.
In the event that oh, how frustrating.
Right when he said it.
Yeah, this should not be this hard.
No, it's just it's hard to line them up because it's black. Flight controller's black and the frame is black.
Okay.
So what I do is push it through the frame first.
Oh, this is way off.
Well, no. Once you get one in, it'll stretch.
That's
You
a
know-
long stretch.
No, it'll stretch.
All right, so that hole is lined up. That hole is still over here. That is and that's me stretching it right
So you
now.
don't get will.
I don't think it's going to. However, I'm gonna go ahead and just make my own at this point, if that's all right.
It's gonna be your baby.
This thing is not lining up correctly. So let's do this. Get that out of the way. So unfortunately our holes don't quite line up. They're way, way off, which is fine. I need my screwdrivers because
Okay.
these are not magnetic and this is going to frustrate me and I'm going to punch computer screens and little cute babies in the
Wow, get
face.
back over here in just a second.
So
Cute baby.
punch little rosy cheeked babies in the face if I get mad.
You should call it.
I'm good. I got one.
No. Call the drum Boo. Because they still look like the ghost Boo from Mario.
Yeah, Ghost Boo.
home stretch.
This-
They're all saying they'll flex. The last 2 screws will flex. They will lock one side down.
Excellent.
Haha, like the video of the cat in the homepage. Thanks so much. The cat on the phone. She likes it.
What is your deal, Screw?
And not so fast enough says just smack it on anyway you can.
I figured he would
And I'll
say
bring
that.
another canopy next time I'm over and show you in person. Life Allah says, peace Dan, you took my advice to video.
Come on.
Kryptonite says, once you get one, please.
Wow.
Need help.
No, just this little tiny screwdriver he's got me working with. I can't put any like power behind it at all.
You should know how to screw by now.
I'm screwing. This is not this little tiny screwdriver. I can't put any force behind it. Hey, do me a favor.
Yes.
Grab my actual like screwdriver from the other room, the blue handled ones. I want to put a little force behind this because even though I'm in the hole, it's still not screwing in. This is really getting frustrating. So
Yo,
if can't beat them, penetrate them. Yeah. Just the one. I need something I could put some pressure behind.
Jake Rock, workshops.
I can take right back over
Don't
there.
strip
You're
it.
getting frustrated.
No, I'm not stripping nothing. I just need a screwdriver that's capable of doing the job.
It's a
There we go.
driver.
Right tool for the right job.
Right tool for the right job. You guessed it.
The motor to the driver. Oh, that thing on.
There we go. Damn. How many times am I going to stab myself before this goes in?
The company that makes a powerful motor. Looks great. Put it in the air.
This is like the most frustrating screw ever, Brian. I did not have this problem earlier.
Want me to try to step back in?
You guys gonna take 2 of the screws?
Hell
No,
yeah.
it's the last
You got
two
one?
screws. I'm gonna grab them. You mind?
I know, that's fine.
Yo, man. I'm going to go find a cute rosy cheeked baby. I'll be right back.
Let's run the chick baby.
We're gonna finish it. Don't worry.
Oh, just go slap.
Yeah.
We're gonna get it up.
Good luck, bro. It's all you.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, good luck.
Okay, Dan just turned it back over to me. So
I'm gonna go find babies.
Dan got frustrated with the screw, but I'll get it, dude. Watch
Hell with
this.
that screw, man. When I'm done, I'm gonna take it outside and urinate on it.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
You gotta do all that and. Okay, Stan, what are you working on? I can relate.
This is the Boss 7 frame with a Beta FPV light flight controller, flash with silverware.
When you're building drones at night, you should have slapped yourself every now and then.
Oh no, I stay up all night.
I noticed that.
Guys, will it take to get it up?
You know, this is a struggle. I'm not going to lie. This canopy is just not wanting to cooperate.
Sorry.
What did it get? What did it get?
I think you got the keyboard, but it's alright. Because I was trying to get it out there. I think it's fine.
Will I join?
Hmm?
Can I join?
What?
Can I join?
Yeah, it's that too.
So, I think I hit it there.
Yeah, like right.
If you guys really want to have some fun, build a micro flying DeLorean.
Yes,
You won't regret it.
that's
These
the
are
world's
so awesome.
smallest.
The world's smallest flying DeLorean. Yes.
I still need to fly it.
I will.
Just can't hit the hole. But we could mount it with a rubber band until The morning came and you had more patience.
Did he?
Come on, magnetic screwdriver. I need you. I'm working on it, guys. This is the very frustrating part. Just getting the canopy screwed on. We've got everything else done fine. That should line right up. And it did. All right, so the next screw. So there's still a little bit left to be done with Dan's controller. I'm going to have to go into his controller and set his switches up. But to test it, I will use my controller. I already have the switch set up. So we just basically have to say, hey, channel 5 is the arming switch, and this is channel 5 on the FlySky controller. Now, straighten that out. I'm sorry if I'm giving you guys a bad angle here, but this is getting to be the harder part here where I have to stretch the canopy, it looks like. Just a little. I think it's going to fit, man. I think I have it. No. Almost there, gentlemen. So I'm going to have to get close in on this real quick and take a real deep look. So it's kind of hard with this camera here on us. Straighten this out here. A little pressure off this side. Looks like Dan might be in the restroom, or I don't know where he is. I don't even hear his voice now. All right, so my other screw just came unmounted, and that's not good. And we're going to try this one again. Well, it might not line up straight, so. Just for temp, let me get the side on. Magnetic screwdriver. So I'm unable to read the comments at the moment, guys, because the way the camera's turned, I had to turn the screen and I just can't read the comments on the angle. So I'm going to take a break in a second and hit the comments, gentlemen. Can't believe I had the screw mounted, then loosened it and lost the place there. Let me just get in here closely. Gosh. All right, what time is it? I'm going to move the screen up just for a second, gentlemen. It's 12:05. Let me read some of this. Right. See, the problem with the canopy is that once you get one of the sides in, it's not wanting to line up on the other side. So, yeah, no, that's how I do it too. I usually put it through the canopy first and then into the hole screw, but I don't think it's going to quite fit for
That's
some
what I was
reason.
saying. It's like way too low.
The 2.0, it's the JST 2.0 connector. That's the 2.0 connector there. That fits this style of battery. So I wonder if I can just rubber band it and get a made in at the moment, because we're going to have to probably do some alterations to the camera and the canopy. But I know it's going to fly, so we've already bound to it and had it going. I'm going to pull it down for a second, gentlemen. I'm sorry to take it out of the view.
So you're saying I need to get my screw gun out?
Or something. We're going to have to either maybe fix holes, or it's getting late, so I'm going to just rubber band it so we can get it up. I'm going to have to leave shortly, unfortunately.
Makes sense.
The other issue with the rubber banding is it's not going to sit straight again. See what? I think we might have just ruined this canopy already. It's okay. We're working on it, gentlemen. I'm just trying to get a band on here for now.
You've got more canopies.
So I got to be very careful with this antenna here. All right, so
That's a pretty aggressive angle, isn't it?
yeah, it is pretty aggressive. It's really gonna come into play when you go to land.
Hand me that FPV watch, buddy.
The G-Tang.
The G-Tang.
I love the name of that FPV watch, the G-Tang.
That'll make it easier to see what's going on here.
All right,
Let me know when you got it powered up.
I will in just a second here. So. We're gonna power it up right now.
Excellent.
And now I'm gonna try to bind to it.
Actually, that's not a bad flight angle, to be honest with you.
So until we can correct the canopy issue, we have the G-Tang. Actually, that's pretty steep angle, Dan.
That's what I said. It's a pretty good angle.
But I don't know if you guys can see, but we do have FPV going on here. So maybe we can mount this somewhere here so people can see.
I think you're gonna be able to fly it in here.
Yeah,
Think so?
maybe. I'll probably wreck it. I'm gonna borrow your goggles, but I fly in this type of area all the time. You see my
Now
office
remember,
right
this
here?
is a lot faster. Yeah.
I fly the boss in my office, like around my microphone and stuff.
Yeah.
I'll probably crash. I'm gonna crash a lot. We'll be okay. I'm not telling Dan that he doesn't know.
Really?
Dan's going with me more than anybody else. He knows I crash.
If you want to, you can turn on the light.
Yeah.
There you go. That might help.
Yeah, I'm not gonna there.
Shit.
What I hit?
This is the microphone. And we lost video feed somehow.
All right, so I crashed instantly. What's new? Where's the bird?
How did we lose video?
That's a good question. I think because my battery is old and it lost connection from the connector back here.
Still got nothing. Yeah, but look at the video. Look at the screen. The FPV watch. Static. Oh, okay, we got it back. What was that? That was weird, huh?
Something's there.
Oh, lost it.
No, I unplugged it.
Oh.
All right. How about I take it out for this one out here?
That's a good FPV watch. You can take it pretty far.
No, we're gonna put that on the screen.
Taking it in the other room?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah?
Trust your buys has a lot of power too. What's up with these props? They're very powerful, dude.
Yeah?
Yes.
That's what I was telling you. They fly like insanity, like a
Yes.
brushless micro.
Yes, it's fast.
Yeah.
That camera angle, man, it's really fast. But dude, it's flying great. So
Nice. So if we have to, we can adjust camera angle.
yeah, well, I would say we would have to adjust, build a new canopy for it. So just real quick, Dan. When you boot it up, it's going to boot up in acro.
Hmm.
All right. So if you want to go into stabilized mode, you go left, left, down. See the flight controller blink?
Hmm.
Now it's in stabilized mode. But I mean, this thing will hit the roof if we're not careful.
Yeah, I'll trust me. I know.
So right, down, acro. All right.
So left, down, stabilize, right, down, acro.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Either that or it's the opposite because I never applied stabilized with this thing. So
Right.
I just boot up an acro. So also I'm gonna show you how to bind your transmitter down. All right. So you want to go ahead and get your bird and plug your battery in on your bird, then plug your battery in on the back of your transmitter,
Mm-hmm.
and then hold your right stick up into that angle for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
and it will bind. It just bound.
I see that.
All right, now that you bound to this protocol, this Bayang Toys protocol, I gave you a sheet of paper that tells you all the stick commands for the other. Next time you bind, it's going to bind into Bayang. So you don't have to rebind it again. You just have to turn your battery off and turn it back on.
Right.
And it'll always bind to this protocol. And it'll be ready to fly. Ta-da. So we still need to work the camera and the canopy and do a rebuild on that, I would suggest.
Mm-hmm.
This camera angle is really steep. Like I thought I could fly it in here like I fly mine, but that's too steep for me. But it's all good. So I'm going to turn this off so the VTX isn't running. But that's a basic Boss 7. I'd like to see the canopy fixed properly.
Yeah, we can do that.
I guarantee this is going to rip, Dan.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, I'm
can tell it's
serious. I mean,
gonna I can tell it's gonna be angry. Yeah.
let me find my Whoop case real quick, and we'll pull out some of those, and then we'll wrap it up.
All right.
I have my Beta FPV Whoop case somewhere around here. I don't know where I put it. Remember I showed you my H8 Mini a little while ago?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I did with the case.
So what happened to Brian earlier? Car trouble. Props off, props on. What up, homies? Does it bite? I don't know. Everybody stay for after the show. We're serving hamster and cheese sandwiches. Yeah. How you get it back? What kind of receiver? What kind of transmitter is it? What kind of receiver is it?
Okay, yeah. So you have yours right here. So it's a Bayang. The receiver, the transmitter, it's Bayang protocol, and what I'm using is a FlySky FSI 6 controller, hobby grade controller. But in the back, I have the iRange X multi-protocol module here that allows me to bind to a lot of toy grade quads like the Bayang protocol that Beta FPV Lightboard is running. So that's how I bind to it. And I use the hobby grade controller with that iRange X module. Here's a blank module. This is Dan's brand new module that you plug right back into the trainer port of your hobby grade controller. And this is for FlySky. It's getting late. And Tyrannus and X7s, I believe, have a different chip for them. And I'm not familiar with that because I've been using the FlySky, so I haven't had to set those parameters in silverware.
Old Droner says, is that a kit that can be purchased somewhere?
No, it's not, but it's a
Build.
It's a build, but it's a very low cost, and it's not a very difficult build, to be honest with you. And
Unless you got to put screws in.
unless you got to put screws in, and you're me and Dan, and we're challenged in that area, it appears. But what we can do is we can get an easy build list together, and add it to one of these videos coming up, because I know Dan's going to have a flight video that's coming up soon. I guarantee once he starts flying it, he's not going to be able to put it down. So we'll get a build video together, and the frames are open source. You can download and 3D print them yourselves, or we'll also provide a resource for somebody that will print them for you. Somebody that I know does a high quality print. And then as long as you have decent motors, you don't have to go out and buy the most expensive motors. I usually use the Beta FPV motors, but just recently I've been trying some off-brand motors, and I forget the name of the motors I'm using right now, but I think I got 2 sets. That's 8 motors for $12, and they're performing just as good as these Beta FPV motors.
You turn the camera up to yourself.
Yes, definitely, yeah. So sorry about that, guys. Put my ball cap on so you guys can see it's drone on in the Drone Worship studio. I'm straight hijacking the live streams. Yeah. Oh, old Joni just got a 3D printer. Okay, Jake Rock, what I'm going to have to do is I bought them on Amazon, and I'm going to have to go on my Amazon account and look at the brand for them. I can show them to you. They might even say it on the box here. They're 2 set of 17-16 millimeter, 17,500 E11 frame motors. So I go look at Amazon and see who I bought them from. That's right. You just need the 3D printing files. You need a Beta FPV Lite flight controller, a set of 7/16 motors, and your AIO cam of choice. And you can put one of these together. Well, hey, thank you, RC Fun. I appreciate it. And I don't really know a lot. I'm learning, and I learn something every day. And it's not that difficult. The difficult part is actually getting the silverware on the board. But these Beta FPV lights do come with default silverware flashed to them. But we run a more aggressive blend, not fast enough blend of silverware. If you had a choice between the FSI6 or the Jumper, you would get the Jumper all day and all night. The Jumper is superior. It's going to give you superior range. And you'll have access to all the toy grade protocol, plus, FlySky and all the major grade protocols. Jumper. That's all I got to say about that. Even now they have the new version of the Jumpers out. I mean, the old version will work great too. I want to get a Jumper by the end of May, because I fly a lot of this stuff, and it's time for me to move on from the FlySky FSI6. It really is. I'm there. But yeah. So that's what we're gonna do. Me and Dan are gonna get a parts list together, a build list for one of his. Yeah, the price did drop on the old Jumper. That made it even more appealing for me. The FPV goggles I use are very similar to the ones Dan uses. I use the VR D2 Pro box goggles.
We turned them off.
Yes, I did turn them off. But I'll be honest with you. Once I got them, there you go. The QX7 with iRange X is going to do you right, Kryptonics. I really don't care for the VR D2 Pros. The only thing I really do like about them is the DVR is decent. But they have a lot of small flaws to them. That you don't really know about till you start using them on a daily basis. Yeah, the QX7 with the iRange X. Bing. Way better than what I'm using. So, guys, I think we're about there. So, what I need to do is just off camera is configure Dan's Fly Sky to arm the arming channel for this, and he'll be ready to fly. I mean, with these rubber bands, it'll be all right, but he'll need to mount his canopy a little better.
I'll work on it. I'm sure to get it.
Oh, you've been looking at the Eachine EV100s? I looked at them for a while too, and I was kind of turned off by them because they look like they're diversity, but they don't have diversity.
I mean, the VRD2,
You're very welcome, old droner.
The VRD2s do very good if you get the pagoda set up.
Yeah, no, I've heard that actually. VRD2s are a good choice for a box goggle. I mean, hey, Jake Rock, have a great evening, my friend. Thanks for coming by. I appreciate it, man. Enjoy flying your boss, dude. So let's get all Dan's components together. All right, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up here.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate your time. And from now on, Drone Worship channel is now going to be hijacked by me. I'm going to do all his feeds, live streams, his flight videos. I'm going to hijack those too. He's going to start flying the FPV race quads, and I'm going to start flying the Ghost drone with the goggles on and the head. I'm going to fly it with my head like Dan does. Like this. Like Stevie Wonder. Yeah, that's what's going to happen, guys. So, yeah. Hey, guys, have a great night. I'm going to end the stream now. I can't say Tootaroo, though, because that's Dan's deal.
Sure you can.
All right, I'm going to do it. Tootaroo!
Yeah.
We out.
And then you'll have to hit the next button. Yeah.
We out.